Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Shea Dixon. And no, Billy and Body will not be popping into the middle of this podcast this time. It's a one-time thing, but we are here for our preview of Ole Miss versus LSU. Shea, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. I'm excited about this one. We've talked a lot about it, but boy, the storyline is what it is. We know LSU's defense has been really elite. Are they the elite? Like, could anyone get over on this defense? If we could find that out in the first month of the season, the only team would be Ole Miss. That offense, Lane Kiffin, Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback playing very well. That's the team that can put up points on you. But to this point, LSU's not given up more than one touchdown in a game. They haven't given up more than 10 points in the game. But Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly both said it. Lane Kiffin said, very good chance LSU is the best defense we play all year. Brian Kelly said, very good chance Ole Miss is the best offense we play all year. You had said that on the pod over the weekend, just looking ahead to the game. And I think it's true. So, we'll see who wins the game. We'll see how the LSU offense fares versus the Ole Miss defense. But boy, I think we find out a lot about on both sides. Is Ole Miss able to put up points like 30, 40 on anybody? Or is LSU ever, they'll give up more than 10 in a game, but is LSU's defense even capable? Is there a world where they can give up 30 points? Right now, we don't think so.
No.
So how does this one unfold? That's what I'm most looking forward to. And I love that I don't have to wait till 11 at night to figure the answer out. It's a 2:30 game. Let's go.
If you haven't already, check out our podcast with Billy and Body that we posted at the time recording this. It'll be posted around 3 o'clock, so go check that out on your YouTube feeds. It is Friday now, and we are about a day away from the game. I want to start with Caden Durham injury update because you and Pete Nichols both had this on the board on Thursday early on. What did y'all hear about Caden Durham, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, so he left the game in week 4 against Southeastern, the win, and he was hobbled. Brian Kelly said it was an ankle sprain. They were going to get an MRI. The MRI was negative, and then he confirmed it was not high ankle. Then both Pete and I sort of simultaneously today, and then Pete had called me, and I was like, yeah, I just kind of heard the same, that on Wednesday, and we're recording this late Thursday, so we haven't heard from Brian Kelly yet, but they're practicing today. But on Wednesday's practice, Caden Durham was a full go, and that he moved and looked looked sharp, didn't look like he was banged up to the point where he couldn't play. And he's listed as questionable. Brian Kelly had said, look, it could be questionable to out. It could be questionable to full go. Well, let us get through this week. That was earlier in the week. Well, they got through Wednesday and he looked good. If he looks good again today, then you would have to think that he's playing. But we did also confirm, because you have to turn all these things in, he's on the travel squad and he's suiting up per sources. So, hell, Matty B, we could go to a game time decision. I have no idea. But the most important thing here is LSU starting running back has not had any setbacks, and he's actually looked like he's getting a little bit stronger each day to where the ankle's bothering him less. And I think that goes back to what Brian Kelly said. Not a high ankle sprain. Tape it up, see how he feels. And so far, it's been positive news.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think his availability is important for this game as LSU looks to run the ball. I know a lot of people,
I don't care. Do you go look up what his yards per carry are this year? He's not averaging 1 yard a carry. It's still solid. There's been games he hadn't hit the hole. Play calls, O-line, all that. Caden's fault. It could be something different every time, or it could be a blend of it. But the reality is what you and I talked about on the Sunday pod. If Caden Durham is getting somewhere between 12 and 20 touches, he's breaking you a run of 30 or more yards, and that can decide a game for you. It sealed the Florida win, more or less. Multiple games a year ago, he broke runs like that, and it shifted the game completely. If you're thinking this is going to be a close game, a Caden Durham 50-yard run could very well come at a time when you needed it most, and it swings it for you.
Yeah. Especially with the question marks in terms of depth, then you'd have to throw Juwan Johnson and Harlan Berry out there a lot more. And
Xavier Thomas.
Xavier Thomas. While they're all talented, Caden Durham comes into the season as a preseason All SEC running back. Like, this is a guy who you want to have on the field as much as possible. So,
Go
good news.
and Frank Wilson knows more than us about running backs and the status of them. Just look at the snap counts. Like, Caden Durham has 126 snaps this year. Juwan Johnson has 104. Harlan Berry has 35. Caleb Jackson has 28. He's carried the ball 6 times for 6 yards. Xavier Thomas has more than all of them, but he plays receiver. But they will put him back there. They'll motion him, all that. We've talked about how they get creative behind an O-line trying to figure out the run game to do different things. Juwan's part of that. Xavier's part of that. Barryon Brown on jet sweeps is part of that. But Caden Durham is your starting running back. So like you don't want to not have him. I don't care how he's looked so far. You want to have him out there. So great news there.
For sure. We start on the LSU offense side against this Ole Miss defense. You kind of set the stage for everything. But I think Garrett Nussmeier, 100%, coming off the Southeastern game, I think there's a lot of confidence from me and fans that he is going to have a strong performance, that a lot will be asked of him. And I think against this Ole Miss defense, a secondary that I think has been okay to this year, but we've seen Arkansas, Taylon Green have some real success in the pocket. The other teams they've played haven't had a great passing attack in terms of Kentucky and Tulane. So this will be by far the best passing offense that they face. And I think LSU has real receivers here to give Ole Miss some trouble in the back end. And I think that's what this comes down to. I know, like we talked about, the run game is going to be very, very important because Ole Miss comes into this game. I believe it's the second worst, or if not the worst, run defense in the SEC. And you're muted right now if you're pitching.
The worst.
Yeah, the worst in the SEC. I believe they're about 118th in the country. Also, in tackles for loss, they're very, very low, like 118, 120 range.
And check out the podcast, The Mailbag. We had Billy and Body on, who obviously we worked with Billy forever on the LSU site, so he sees both sides of it. But he said it's a lot like, the end of the La Tech game or end of Southeastern game. Like, some of it's inflated because they'd been giving up runs when backups were in a couple of their games. But he said at the same time, that is the issue, that they have not been able to stop the run in games against Kentucky and Arkansas.
Yeah, so LSU comes into this game with a clear emphasis of running the ball. I'm interested to see, the Advocate did a story, and credit to them, on LSU being under center more. And I think we started to see that last week and the past couple weeks. And that's something I think they will continue to lean in on. I remember when we did was it the mailbag pod where it was like, should LSU use that jumbo set that they used against Florida? And we both jokingly,
Jack Pyburn set.
And we were both jokingly like, I don't care what they have to do. I don't care if you have to get under center 50 times a game to run the ball. Like, you just need to figure something out. And they're going to continue to rotate and try to see if maybe that sparks them a little bit or gives them a little bit more variety in the run.
I can't remember Kelly's exact quote, but he said sometimes when you're in the pistol or shotgun, it doesn't give you that view for a running back of what the lane is and everything else. So going under center sometimes helps out a bit. And I like that they're doing it because it's like, hey, if this isn't working, go under center with it then. Try something else, and they are.
Yeah. So the run game will be tested. We know Garrett Nussmeier will have to be healthy and have to be accurate and not turn the ball over. But to me, I think if we look like individuals, and also Trades Green, we haven't talked about him. He will be playing in this game, and that's substantial.
My favorite part of the week is that Brian Kelly led off the week by saying Trades Green is playing, no problem at all, and then he showed up on the injury report as questionable. It's like, all right, you're not hiding it from anyone, BK. You've already said that he was playing, which is great.
Yeah, so Trades Green playing is huge. First of all, even if he's only in on red zone snaps, I think it is massive. Like, you can have Bauer Sharp out there for the other 80 yards. If you get inside the 20, Trades Green being on the field is huge because the defense has to account for him in a way that you don't have to account for other people.
Yeah, Trades has played 77 snaps on the year in 2 games. In those games, they had 70 snaps and 75 snaps on offense. So, I mean, he's in the game more than half the time, and half the time they're running it too. So he's kind of not in the game. So it's not just red zone. I mean, he's out there. He's your red zone threat, but he's also a mismatch anywhere on the field.
Yeah. So I wrote a story. I published it today. I wrote it yesterday, looking at Ole Miss's defense and just kind of how they've struggled at times. I watched, but I mean, they did do well against Tulane in the first half. I think there is a real struggle at linebacker. They lost Chris Paul from last year, and while they have some talent there, it's really been inconsistent. I think the biggest stat, which you can read in my story, is Taylon Green, I believe, was 11 of 17 over the middle, and he had a touchdown in there. He had no interceptions. Obviously, was really really efficient, and really accurate when you look at those throws over the middle, and that ranges from 2 yards to 25 yards. He was extremely accurate, and they were able to dice up their zone defense in the middle of the field. And I think their linebackers have something to do with that. I think their safeties also have something to do with that. So if you're Joe Sloan going into this game, if you're Garrett Nussmeier going into this game, you not only have elite tight ends, you have elite slot players as well, guys who can navigate that area. That has to be a place where LSU dominates. And I'm looking at Garrett Nussmeier putting up similar numbers to Taylon Green in terms of you should be over the middle 15 plus times in this game. I don't think that's asking too much, which it has been to this point because it has been a little spread out, but again, injury, different reasons. This needs to be a game where Nussmeier finds the middle of the field and finds his targets.
And we saw that against Southeastern,
Yeah.
where he really worked the middle of the field. I'll say this. I think a key will be, if you're talking about running the football with success against an Ole Miss team that to this point has not been great stopping the run. I'm looking, and I always preface it, look, PFF isn't the end all be all, but the guys who have a grade of 70 or above on Ole Miss right now, the only ones who aren't D linemen are Antonio Kite, who's their best corner, and Nick Call, who is probably arguably their best safety. But his overall PFF grade is just 51, but he barely edges out at 70. Everyone who starts for them that's below 70 plays linebacker and DB if your name's not Antonio Kite. So if you can get to the second level, that's where their issues stopping people are in the run game.
Yeah, and they haven't tackled well to this point. It's been a real mess for Ole Miss defensively. I will say, and we did Behind Enemy Lines, a written story with Jake Thompson on our site to get an even better view of Ole Miss. A disappointing part for them, because I asked him, what's been maybe a surprise to you, is he was like, yeah, the defensive end's not getting pressure on the quarterback the way that they anticipated going into the year has been a surprise. And so you're talking about Princely Uman Minyelin on one side. You're talking about Deshaun Womack on the other side. Players that, Princely, obviously the younger brother of a player who was very, very good for Ole Miss. He transfers in, and neither one has been able, as a team, I believe they only have 4 sacks on the year. Yeah, 4 sacks on the year. And Uman Yellen and Womack have just been I think they've been fine. If you look at the pressures, it's actually similar to LSU, and this is another thing included in the story, is they have 71 pressures on the year. LSU has 78. Obviously, different schemes and stuff, but it's not like they're not getting there. They're just not good enough to really close out, and that might speak also to coverage ability as well.
One thing that we know about Garrett Nussmeier is he has a cerebral part to his game where he feels pressure.
Yeah.
So he doesn't, he hasn't gotten sacked very often this year for a reason. He gets the ball out of his hands, and that's by design, but also that's just who he is. But for a defense to only have 4 sacks through 4 games,
crazy.
And Deshaun Womack not to have any of them, for Centering Perkins not to have any of them, is sort of eye-popping to a degree. Is that, yes, they're getting some hurries in, but they're not getting home. And you'd hope that remains the case this week, because LSU's done a good job of not giving up sacks.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on this side of the ball, the right tackle position, DJ Chester is not playing in the first half because of the targeting penalty. So Weston Davis is going to go. I anticipate Weston Davis is going to play the whole game. I don't anticipate.
Brian Kelly already said I'm bullish on Weston Davis, and Weston Davis is my starting right tackle.
Cool. So with that in mind, and nobody else is coming in here. It's going to be Weston Davis, and he's going to be going against Princely Uman Yellen a lot in this game. If it's any indication of where he's lined up throughout the season, he's lined up over the right tackle, and he gave Tulane fits. He didn't do as much against Arkansas because Taylor Green just ran all over them to a degree, so that was kind of different. But Kentucky and Tulane, I actually think Princely had a really, or Prince Will, sorry, he's Prince Will, the other one was Princely. Prince Will had a really good game in those two games. So you're going to see Weston Davis, again, get tested off the edge. Even if this isn't like a first round draft pick, he's going to get to still a solid player, and I anticipate them chipping. They're going to have a lot of help there for Weston Davis, but it's another thing to watch that I'm interested in. So,
what is
and
Weston Davis? Oh, here we go. So Cole Kubelek, who
75.
was on the call or on the sidelines for that
Mm-hmm.
game, played O-line in the SEC. He's been around the game forever, and he puts a lot of
Yeah, he's great.
work into film study. He knows what he's talking about. He's very fair with every team. He's not some Auburn homer. And he listed everyone off, and I love how he does it because he only lists their numbers, so he
Yeah,
doesn't call kids out. But he said, protection needs improvement. RT struggled. He said he just needs to keep his hips square versus speed rush and the passing twists. That's what he pointed out. So when you know you're going up against, look, he's already faced Clemson and Florida. They've got great D lines. So
right.
now that you're faced off against a third player and D line is pretty good, how far along can you come in practice to be like, hey, look, here's the film, get your technique right. That's what Brian Kelly talked about. It was, he's just got to get his technique down and then we'll be okay. And he's in the same vein said Curious Kern's technique isn't even there yet. Like hell of a physical blocker. But if you're worried about Weston Davis's technique, Curious Kern just came out of high school. His
Yeah,
technique isn't there yet. So according to Cole Kubelek, he's told Weston Davis having a game where he is not pointed to as a deficiency or a reason that the O line isn't playing well. Square up those hips in the
square
speed
him up.
rush. I'll also say this, and I'm not calling people out. I think and this is coming. I'm not a film bro. I'm not a tape bro, but from talking to people inside LSU's building, Josh Thompson also has to be better at times. It's not all Weston Davis. That
For
right
sure.
side of the line has two guys there. So you'd like to see both of them play well this week.
For sure. It's be a good test for the offense. Again, they need to get it going. Need to get it going here as SEC plays here. We're going to flip it to the defense where we get the real battle of the Titans. We get Lane Kiffin versus Blake Baker. We get we get Trinity Chambliss versus Whit Weeks. We get Harold
No,
Perkins.
it's Lane Kiffin versus Whit Weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say Lane Kiffin versus
don't
Whit Weeks.
don't bring Trinidad into this. He did nothing.
Who is Trinidad dating?
Yeah, so we should say that Ole Miss has said that Trinidad Chambliss will start. No
Yes.
shock. Austin Simmons has been hurt and also was turning the ball over
Yeah.
in games that he shouldn't be turning the ball over. And we had Billy Embody on the mailbag pod. He thinks that between Austin still being a little banged up and Trinidad's play, that Trinidad's going wire to wire in this one. They're not doing some like in and out thing.
Yeah. So this is where we get to see LSU's defense prove itself. And I'm very,
They've
very
already proven
excited.
themselves,
They've proven
but
themselves.
now we're going to know, as you said, if we think we know about 80% about what LSU is on defense, we're about to figure out about 100%.
Yeah. So, to this point, I mean, if you ask me what I know about this defense through the 80% I do know, I've said it before, I think this is a top 5 defense in the country. Now, are you actually our top 5 or are you just, top 20, top 15? You can still be really, really good and not hold Ole Miss to 10 points, 17 points, but you're muted.
They're not going to hold Ole Miss to 10. If they do, that means Ole Miss played just as bad on offense as LSU played well on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, like, we've repeated it plenty because Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin both said it. Brian Kelly, this will be the best offense probably we play this year. Lane Kiffin, this is probably going to be the best defense we play this year. If you lose this game and Ole Miss puts up some points on you, that doesn't mean for me that you're not going to turn around and then go back to clamping up teams that are not as good as Ole Miss on offense.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be a real challenge. Trinidad Chambliss, I think, is a real dual threat guy. We talked with Billy about him a bit. If y'all want to his thoughts on that, and I just said on that podcast, I feel like he has that it factor to when you watch him. Like he has real improvisational ability. He has a good enough arm, and I think he has good enough speed. And then you put that together with what seems like really good instincts of when to tuck it, when to make plays, when to scramble and stuff. It's going to be a real test. It's a dual
Well,
threat challenge for LSU this week.
and because of Garrett's passing ability, but prior to that, look, Jaden Daniels for 2 years, Billy said that Ole Miss's O-line struggles have been a real issue, and Trinidad's ability to not just throw the football, but scramble, get out, have masked that. Like it masked it against Tulane, for instance. So I think that's one thing, just like LSU's O-line struggles, but if Nuss is getting it out quickly and not getting sacked, it masks it a bit for you. And in the same way, that's what Trinidad does for an O-line at Ole Miss that is not living up to par for them.
Yeah. So this comes down to one thing for me, and there's a million ways you can look at this game and look at this matchup here. But I think LSU's defense is going to stop the run enough. I know Ole Miss and everybody will be like, well, this is a good rushing attack, and it is. And Lacey's a good back, and I think they're going to have, they're not going to get held to 2 yards per carry. But I actually think LSU's defense is going to be fine against the run. What this
Yes.
comes down to me, is can LSU continue to just man up on I've said this for 4 weeks straight now. Can LSU keep just manning up Delane, Woodland, Pickett, and then if they're able to do that, Harold Perkins can rover, Harold Perkins can spy, Harold Perkins can blitz, and you don't have to worry about personnel-wise what they're doing because the corners have been so damn good. You're playing a really good receiving core here, and I think that's what this game comes down to here is can Ole Miss expose – can they win the one-on-one matchups where we've said all year teams are going to have to make some plays to score on this team. Teams are going to have to make some really, really great throws, great catches. Can you do that against this man-to-man defense of LSU? That's what I'm interested to see.
They're not going to burn LSU like over the top a bunch of times. What Lane Kiffin schemes up, he's so brilliant, is getting guys into space and letting them get yards after the catch. The good news for LSU is they've proven through 4 games in the defensive backfield, Matty B, they tackle extremely well and they don't have busted coverages. What happens when for teams like Ole Miss, what they take advantage of with big playability is when you bust coverages and you can't tackle.
Yeah.
LSU hasn't had either of those really show through 4 weeks of football. Granted, Ole Miss is the best offense they'll have faced, but it goes back to what we said. If they can hold their own against this team, you can hold your own against all teams.
Yeah, and LSU is so fast. I mean, between Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, AJ Halsey, like those are 3 guys that just fly around the field and make plays. I mean, it's incredible watching those guys.
I love watching the defense.
It's so much fun. So again, I think LSU will have success stopping the run. I think LSU will have success getting after Chambliss. But the question is whether it's Lane or whether it's just winning one-on-ones. I think they're going to have to make some plays through the air, Ole Miss, in order to win this game. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. So I'm really, really excited from all perspectives here if LSU can be aggressive and LSU can continue to do what they've been doing because –
Oh, well, we know they're going to be aggressive. That's Blake Baker. What I think he's so great at, too, is masking it. Like,
yeah.
It looks like it's an all-out blitz. All of a sudden, everyone's dropping and you're rushing 4 or 3, whatever it might be. And the other thing I think that no one's talked about too much, and I'm not going to discredit Trinidad Chambliss at all. The kid came in from Ferris State, D2, and has looked so sharp, doesn't turn it over. But they're better than Tulane. So even if Tulane watched all of the film from Arkansas and tried to apply it, they still don't, Ole Miss is going to have better players, and that's how that game went. Blake Baker's got 2, you can go watch Ferris State film, but he's got 2 full games of Trinidad Chambliss the past 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So he knows what Trinidad Chambliss wants to do, and now you can scheme to that. So it isn't like the Marcel Reed coming in at halftime when you knock Connor Wegman out and you've got a crappy defense already to where you're like, damn it, we can't make halftime adjustments. This is late in the 3rd quarter. We're working on the fly and we're unraveling. They have an infinitely better defense. They've proven it. And now you've got a week where Blake Baker and his staff can sit there and watch what Trinidad Chambliss has done the past 2 games and come up with ways that they think to stop him and slow him down.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You want to jump to an ad read, or do we just want to keep it rolling?
We can keep it rolling. We'll do some ad
Let's
reads
let's
later in the week.
for sure. All right, players of the game, or I guess player picks that we go through every week. We pick one offense, one defense, a guy who we think will have either a breakout game or just straight up the best player on the field for LSU. Do you want to start? You want me to go?
I'll start. I don't mind. Look, it's so easy to say, oh, if Nuss plays well, you'll win the game. And it's very tough to say, if I were to pick Braylon Moore at center, like it's tough for me to pick an O lineman to win them the game. They all need to play well.
Yeah.
I think most people are going to look at this and say a running back, whether it be Durham or Juwan Johnson, the 2 guys who have led the way at running back, like if they got going, that could be the difference. I'm just going to pick who I pick every week. It's the best player on the team that's not named Garrett Nussmeier, Aaron Anderson. He's never let you down. He won this game for you a year ago to get you into overtime. He and Garrett Nussmeier on those throws. When Nuss needs something, he goes to Aaron Anderson. And I love Barryon Brown. I love Xavier Thomas. I love the depth they have at receiver because they're playing Nick Anderson, Hilton, Kyle Parker, all of these guys. I said it before the season. When they get into third and whatever and they need a play, go to Aaron Anderson. And when they do that, it's worked. So give me Aaron Anderson.
I'm going to go with Bauer Sharp. And
I like that pick.
While I think Tradez will be featured, I mean, it is such a big brace just watching him. Like, not that he was restricted in a big way,
They're different players, though. He's not going to get the target share Bauer Sharp
for
gets.
sure. But Bauer Sharp, I think he's actually, you see the chemistry between him and Nussmeier improving every single week. And I know it's Southeastern, but just the way over the middle of the field Nussmeier was looking for him, that's what they need this week.
Go back to a year ago. We talked about this all offseason. Yeah, it was year 1 for Nuss starting, but he's that quarterback who's so gunslinger that in his head, he'd rather just throw it downfield. He doesn't want to work the tight end. Yeah. But Mason Taylor was his best friend. He worked him all day. In year 2, game 1, Bauer Sharp had the most targets of anyone, tied for the most on the team. Then they sort of, let's work some other guys in against Luedecke. You get to Florida, Bauer's back involved. You get to Southeastern, Bauer's involved because he went to Southeastern to start his college career. If that weren't the case, I don't think they would have thrown it to him 10 times in that game or whatever it was. I'm with you that it's so easy for Nuss to not even a check down, but to say, this is a safe way for me to get us a first down, me to get us some yards. I like that pick. I think that he and Aaron Anderson are my 2 key players there on offense that, hey, they're there, they'll catch it, throw it to them.
Yeah. Because we don't know for sure if this offense will be able to run the ball. We hope they're able to run the ball. I anticipate that they'll have more success, but at the end of the day, Nussmeier's got to find the middle of the field, and he's got to find Aaron Anderson and Bauer Sharp to be consistent.
I wanted to share this stat at some point because we had talked about it on the prior pod. Brian Kelly's talked about, look, Jocelyn wants to stay committed to running the football. And even if it's not worked out to, the Fournette days, we're running for 300 a game, the Les Miles days, they've gone under center now. Like they've gotten so creative from the start. Bringing Juwan Johnson back there, bringing Xavier Thomas back there, bringing Barryon Brown on jet sweeps. Clemson, Luedecke, Florida, Southeastern, the pass run splits, pass being first, 56-44%, 55-45%, 55-45%, 55-45%. If you think it's going to change this game, even knowing now too that Ole Miss can't, like, they're very deficient in the run, stopping the run, I don't think that means that it inverts. I just think that by game's end, this will be about a 55-45 again. I believe in the stats.
Pretty safe.
I believe in facts. The facts are when they game plan, they stick to it. Yeah. They'll go 55-45.
All right,
if you could prop bet what the 50 what percentage of pass run is, you would make a lot of money betting 55-45.
Like how you can predict
which
the
I
exact
don't
score.
Mind. People are going to sit here and be like, letting us throw it. We can't run it. We can't block. I don't care. Stay committed to it. Stay committed to it.
Yeah.
It also can
I'm
keep Ole Miss off the field.
yes, 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 you can.
Your defense
All
needs a
right,
break. We love 3-and-outs, but I
defense.
don't want them out there every day.
Well, let's
Every
talk
5
about this
minutes.
defense. Defense, player of the games, game ball predictions. I'm gonna go. Wow, there's a lot of options. This is a good defense. I remember doing this in years past, and you're like, "Wow, who am I picking? Am I about to pick Major Burns?" Like that was the past. Yeah, give me Bernard Gooden. I think he's gonna just wreck some stuff here.
Starting defensive tackle. So what do you see there?
I think there is real. Billy talked about the offensive line for Ole Miss and kind of the struggles or inconsistencies that they've had. I think there is real value in Bernard Gooden and all these defensive tackles, obviously. So when I say Bernard Gooden, it's kind of a group effort, but Gooden getting into the backfield and not letting Chambliss get comfortable in a way where he's been comfortable, like flat out. Arkansas and Tulane did not bother him at all. If LSU, which LSU has done this year, we talk about their blitzing, but a lot of times they've just gotten there with 4. And a lot of times Bernard Gooden against Cade Klubnik had him shook from the first series of the game. If Bernard Gooden gets in the backfield the way that he has this season, I think not only does it bother Chambliss, but also Chambliss is only 6 feet tall, and pressure from up the middle against shorter quarterbacks typically bothers them more. So we're talking about a guy that can not only get pressure, but also eliminate some running lanes. And I think Bernard Gooden, along with all the defensive tackles, should have some success. And Bernard Gooden will record 2 tackles for loss in this game. Book it.
I'm going Wit Weeks, and not for the reason that you think. I don't, and not because he dates Kiffin's daughter.
Spicy.
Not because of that. It's because of this reality. And I think this is one thing that makes Lane such a great play caller is that if people think Lane Kiffin, without looking at anything, they think, God, they just air it out. It's the throwing the clipboard up in the air when the ball's in midair because he knows the deep ball scoring. They played 2 SEC games, and they were the only 2 games that were close so far, given that they got one over on Tulane, and I don't care about their week 1 opponent. So in those 2 games that were quite close, the splits weren't like LSU's. They threw it 24 times with Austin Simmons in the Kentucky game, and they ran it 48 times. In the Arkansas game, which came down to the bitter end, Arkansas fumbled trying to drive to tie it up, potentially, go ahead to win the game. It was 30 passes to 40 runs. In that game as well, Trinidad Chambliss and Austin Simmons came in for a hot second. He ran it once, but Trinidad ran it 15 times, the quarterback. And in the prior game, when it was 48 runs to 24 passes, Austin Simmons ran it 8, Trinidad ran it 3, so that's 11. Knowing that they're going to both run the football, and like I said, what makes Lane so great is you just think pass, but they'll run to set you up for that. But they also, with Trinidad Chambliss, have a running quarterback. So knowing you're going to run the football and your quarterback runs the football, I'm not talking straight up spying him, but Whit Weeks is always cognizant of that as a middle linebacker. So I think he's going to lead the team in tackles in this game, and I think he's going to be very paramount to stopping Trinidad Chambliss in this run game.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm definitely excited to see how they contain him, bottle him up.
If he even gets a chance, maybe Bernard Gooden just makes every single play on the D line, and no one gets to the second level, and Whit has no tackles. So
that's it, Bernard
But
Gooden.
if they get past Bernard Gooden, I'm banking on Whit Weeks.
Yeah. How does that sound? After you get past Bernard Gooden, you got Will Weeks and Harold Perkins waiting for you.
And West.
And West. Shout out to West.
And if you get past then, AJ Halsey's putting his face mask into your gut. So
first team all Big 12 safety is coming right downhill and hitting you with everything he's got. All right, you ready to predict?
Yeah, and we did this. We forced Billy into it to predict on the mailbag pod, and I think what he said was right. If this game is high score, if this game is BetMGM has it as an over/under of 55.5. If this game goes over, and Ole Miss and it's not LSU 40 to Ole Miss 10 or something, If it's a close game, but it goes over, I give the edge to Ole Miss here. I do. But if it goes under, I give the edge to LSU, and I'm leaning under. So I don't know if you already have your score in mind. I 1000% could see this being like a 24-21 game.
Yeah, I had that similar range. I've gone through a couple different ones. I can't give Ole Miss 3 field goals because I can't see Lane Kiffin kicking the ball.
That's why I said that the 21 went to Ole Miss because Lane ain't kicking no field goals.
Yeah, that's what I
And
was
Brian
like.
Kelly's already said this year, I'm doing things where my analytics tell me go for it on 4th down, and I'm not doing it because I trust my defense and I trust my special teams. So I think that LSU will take some field goals. So maybe it's 27, 24, whatever. But
Yeah. I just think so highly of this LSU defense, and I think when the field shrinks in the red zone, they don't give up. They're not going to give up those touchdowns. So I think Ole Miss maybe has some success moving the ball, maybe hits a big play, but finishing drives I think is going to be a challenge. And Lane Kiffin, I think, will have to take a couple field goals that maybe wish he didn't, like 4th and goal from the 12, 4th and goal from the 8, like just situations where it's tough, or 4th and 10 from the
yeah,
18. Like you got to take your 3. Give
you
me
have third and goal, and all of a sudden you get sacked, and you're at the 12. You're not
yeah. Give
going
me
for it then.
24-20 LSU here. I think the defense is
Well, now
legit. I
you
think
have the Ole Miss kicking like 2 field goals.
yeah, two.
You God,
Begrudgingly, Lane Kiffin kicks 2 field goals. That's what we need to set. We need a betting prop on that. How many field goals will Lane Kiffin attempt in this game?
fewer than how many 4th downs he goes for.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be. I think both teams score fewer than 30 points.
I agree. This is a game as much as I want to see LSU's offense do better, I still think they're not going to be able
If
to
they
run
can
the.
score in the 20s, that's better.
Yeah, if you can score 24 points, like I'm pretty happy at that point. And so 24-20 win, get a big road win. Again, if this game was at home, I'd be feeling very confident. I think this game at home, honestly, which there's no point talking about the hypothetical, but Trinidad Chambliss playing in Tiger Stadium is very different than him playing at home. So that is a little bit of credence for him, just, in terms of him not having to play against that crowd of LSU. So I think LSU wins the game. I think the defense is absolutely legit. I think this secondary will do a good job on them. So I'm excited.
And I may change this, but when we actually do our written pieces, but give me 27-24 LSU.
Okay.
1 field goal for Lane, 2 for LSU. Both teams stay under 30.
I know the team total for both is 27.5 on sports books right now. So
Okay.
you can do whatever you want.
I'm going to take LSU 27.5 and Ole Miss 27.
Oh yeah, you can't split them.
they're going to get a half a point for something. I don't know.
They need to put half points in there.
Fun fact to get before we close out, Maddie B, because I think people have they hate Brian Kelly winning the toss and taking the ball. And they're like, we won it after halftime. They have not won a toss this year. So
Correct.
The other team knows that already, and they stick to what they do. They defer, and LSU has to get the ball first. And outside of Clemson, they've gone 3 and out every time. Shout out Caden Durham for not going 3 and out on the Clemson first drive.
Thankfully.
But is it wild for me to say that like one of the top 5 factors in this win would be LSU winning the toss and deferring, getting a stop, and then you start at the 40-yard line or whatever instead of the 25?
Yeah. Field position has been a massive thing.
And you get the ball after half whenever Blake Baker makes great adjustments at halftime on defense, but then you also know that, hey, we're going to get the ball first.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team that has to win field position. I mean, I think Brian Kelly told you that. This is a team that has to win field position. You do not want this team having to drive 85 plus yards 5 times a game and getting the ball inside your 15. Like, this is a team that relies on its defense. And I agree with you. Like, if you can start the game, Ole Miss, ball on its 25, go 3 and out, boom, you have the ball on the 35 now. You get 10 yards of extra space. I think that's just a huge difference for them. And honestly, with the way this defense plays, the more chances you have to create a turnover in their half of the field, like I think it's substantial. So I'm excited. Anything else on this game before we let him go?
No, I'm with you. I just think that if you're on the road, so crowd matters, and if you're able to stop Ole Miss on that first drive of the game, you get the ball. Even if you get even if you get a couple of first downs and have to punt it back,
Yeah.
or even if you are able to get down there and you have to settle for a field goal, even in the red zone, if it is huge win, because if you go out there, get the ball first, punt it, they go down and score 7-0, and they're getting the ball after half, and the crowd's into it. It's the worst start possible, right? So, like, I trust way more that the defense can stop the very first drive of the game for Ole Miss than LSU is going to drive 75 yards on the first drive of the game and get your point. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
that's
we've covered.
that's my thought. Win the toss and defer.
I think we've covered every aspect of this game possible, and I think we did a good job. So thank you all for joining us. If you haven't already, check out the site. We'll have all our predictions, the final lines. We'll have the quotes from Brian Kelly, everything like that throughout the week. So thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. We will talk to y'all later.